Utility Committee meeting to order. Scott, when we left the last time, he was going to do a study about whether he could move the recycling out to the back lot.
Yes, sir. So that is possible. The camera system is $80,000 roughly to so it can shoot to the back of the compound, if you will, and then the pad, depending on how big of a pad, if we want to put concrete pad down, is $10 a square foot. So we have a lot of flexibility there. Currently back there is just rock, and we could move it back to the rock and not worry about the paving piece of it because it's already established back there. But that's a.
You sure about the 80,000 on the?
That was on the latest of the because I got a bid for that one and a bid for the square. It was to follow suit with the same camera system that they just installed with Poly, and it's on the plans to be installed at the new wastewater treatment plant. I'm sure we could get a much cheaper one. I was just trying to remain uniform with what we already have.
You guys, you want to bid it both ways, or you want to just bid it one way?
I say bid it both ways and just see what's out
Keep the
there.
trash off the alleys, is that what we're talking about?
No, about the cameras.
Oh.
To watch the recycling.
Oh, well, bid whether or not we want to go strictly with container or keep the drop off.
Let's bid it both ways and see where we're at. I think that way we can look and see how much it's gonna cost us.
Dan?
Well, as long as we move those cans from up City Hall, I don't care what we do. I just think they look like crap out there.
I don't think it's possible without cameras, because we got these people bringing their trash to Nelsonville and using us, and people are paying for those on their trash service. So I do think maybe you can get Nelsonville TV to drop a line and get a camera there, and it's, but I think if it's done, there has to be
Regulation.
I don't care if it's deer cams. There's got to be some way to find people that's abusing us.
Absolutely.
I mean, because legitimately people that are trash bills are paying for those dumpsters, and there's going to be more costs because we're going to require them to be empty at least twice a week, maybe 3 times. So.
And on that point, it's actually doing better now that it's getting emptied twice a week. It's been less messy, which is very nice. If you guys want an immediate measure, we could move them to the back now and just see how it goes as a trial period. That's just a matter of when the vendor comes, just telling them to move it and having Jason and his guys clear a spot back there.
All right, so we'll bid that both ways. There.
Well, how do you, so that we're gonna have people driving back there drop stuff off?
Well, I think, so Jason and I talked about that and what that looks like. So if we were to do that, we believe the best way would to have established hours and have a sign posted. So it's not 24/7 access. It's Monday through Friday, this time to this time, or maybe even Saturday till noon. Because even with cameras, you gotta have somebody to watch them.
Is there a way that we can put it somewhere where they can just skirt the fence and go through and go out without coming into our compound?
When you say skirt the fence, do you mean go around the building and then back out to 78?
Yeah,
To my knowledge, there's only one opening, and it's on this side of the lean-to, so it's on the inside of the compound area
yeah.
versus the back. So if they kept going that way, they would go around the back of the shed and in between the salt tent and the shed. So currently we have quite a bit of storage, and we store the little houses for Christmas there. And we're in the process of cleaning up different piles of material that have been there. As we get time, we're moving it to the outside edges.
If we go with ours, that brings an enforcement issue.
Well, that's going to be an issue either way, because there's no lighting at all back there. So even if you let people back there after hours, it would be a safety hazard.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just bid it both ways and look at it and
See where we're at.
see where we're at. Okay, let's deal with billing.
So I spoke with Mr. Sappington, and He believes he has the capacity to add it, and our existing software that we already pay for and have and use has that module and that capability in it. So it wouldn't require, it would just, the initial workload would be the setup. And then it would just be attached to the bill after that.
Might have to have Mr. Hunter chime in about if you get a partial bill, where does it go?
Can do.
Yeah. And then we're gonna run into some issues. I think there's some landlords in town that have one dumpster with several properties.
You know, I'm kind of for saying that
I am too.
if you have a rental, they get their own individual trash service.
Yeah, because you're basically stealing trash.
Well, and that's, and I'm for it too. I mean, I get it. And I'm just telling you that will be something that is probably questioned by some of them, which I'm fine with.
In that vein, I want to bring an ordinance forward that says you can't bring trash to Nelsonville. In other words, if you have a rental with it at somewhere in Nelsonville and you live somewhere out of Nelsonville, you can't bring your trash into Nelsonville and set it there and make it our problem. I think that to be fair to, because one of the things we do, we make our trash hauler take as much trash as that person puts out.
Right.
So I think to be fair, there needs to be an ordinance that says you can't load that on him from somewhere else. All that has to come from that resident.
I agree.
Dan?
I agree, yeah, no doubt.
I agree.
I think, there should be trash service for each individual unit, unless it's an apartment building, and then that's a whole different ballgame, and then you get an apartment dumpster.
You have to separate it somehow.
A duplex, then yeah, there should be trash service for each one of those.
Duplex, triplex, where do we break it off at?
Yeah, that's a problem there, isn't it?
Well, and this is possibly an ignorant question, but what are the possibilities of having an ordinance where the landlords are required to provide the water service as well? And there is no tenant issues. For example, I know you already take care of all the water
Yeah, I do
bills
it that way.
for your tenant, and then just making that across the board.
Well, I don't think that's on the trash contract, but
Well, if
that's in the water policy.
So the trash
Right.
contract, so the property owners are responsible to have it.
It's there already.
Yeah, so that's already there, so then all you gotta do is do something with the water.
But one of the things I think that greatly helps us is that if you want to clean your closets out, if you want to take the carpet out, as long as you can get it in a bag, they'll haul it off. But I think to be fair to them, trash can only come from that residence. Our trash or refuse or whatever can only come from that residence. You can't say, well, I'm ripping the carpet out of the house out in New Marshall, I'm just gonna bring it over and set it,
I had actually no idea that was happening.
Oh, it happens a lot.
I didn't know. I know about the recycling that comes from out of town, but I didn't know people were bringing trash from out of town and just dropping it on curbs and.
They're dropping it off in alleys.
I've seen it, I've seen it myself.
Oh, I know this. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't know that was a problem.
People hauling trash in on trash day.
Oh, dang.
Sugarburn Alley is a great one for in that bend right back.
That's what I said, I've seen it myself.
They throw it out.
Yeah, sometimes they just toss it in my yard. So we're on billing. I kind of think we ought to leave the billing with Rumpke personally, but.
I think we could get a cheaper price if we did it ourselves.
Here's the only thing about that is, the city has taken a lot of hits over the years on a lot of things. And then what's our policy going to be if we start doing the billing when you shut the trash off? You're in the same kind of boat again, because now not only are you collecting for water, sewer, and trash. So if someone doesn't pay 2 weeks, what do? Then you shut their trash off. We're getting billed regardless. It's like it's a fail-safe for Rumpke. They're guaranteed they're gonna get their money no matter
Oh,
what.
no doubt.
And, I know there's a benefit to us doing it.
The benefit is you charge more than what you're,
Right. And it's a double-edged
Well,
sword.
plus your trash service will be a lot cheaper too, because you gotta figure they're not doing them, so. hell, you're gonna save
Let's get it quoted both ways, have that quoted both ways and see where we're at, and if the guys in the water office think that they can handle the load, I mean, we just gotta have
I'm not worried about them being able to handle the load. I think that with Robert in there, there's enough people to do the work. What I'm worried about is the things we're talking about. What happens if they just walk out to pay the water and the sewer? Say, I ain't got the money for the trash.
what do you do?
And can you, I mean, questions we really need to have Hunter here to set and ask him about them. I think that the auditor's office. But then the other thing is, how much extra are you gonna charge to deal with the people that don't pay their trash bill?
Right.
And then what do you do? If they don't pay their water bill and they're on a shut-off program, you shut everything down?
Right.
How do you separate?
I don't know that, I guess I don't know how they'd be able to come in and just pay their water and
If they come
sewer
in
and
and say,
not
I
pay
got
the trash.
$30, that's all I got.
Then so if they do that now, it's just the remaining balance carries on to the next one, then there's a fee associated with it. And then they get on hopefully a payment plan. If not, we shut them down. Which, Cindy has been phenomenal in there, getting a hold of people and getting resolution prior to shut-offs, which is very, very good.
Yeah, that's the
What
only
are
thing.
the other municipalities that had to do their own billing? How do they treat it?
I actually haven't done the homework on that. Jason's done the homework, and I think Taylor has, but I don't know the answer to that. I know the biggest thing is it's got to be in its own line item, and money spent out of that line item has to go directly back to trash and rubbish. So I don't, you could
It's
pick
a proprietary fund.
Well, I guess I would ask that question to other municipalities, because we're not reinventing the wheel here.
Right.
Other people do it.
Yeah, we can see what their policies and procedures are, and then we can see what.
I called and asked what their price was, but I didn't think to ask that question. Their price is $21 a month. But they get they give me the contact information. They get a 95-gallon trash bin. They get a 65-gallon recycling bin, and they're charging $21 for that.
Wow.
And that's Rumpke that's doing that, but I didn't think to ask them questions. I asked the price question.
That pay what, 50 something a month, every 3 months?
Every 3 months, I think. It's not real bad at
50
all.
something.
I can't remember. I have to look at the bills to see what it is.
I hate that.
Right now,
Every 3 months, because it's like 2 months in, I'm like,
Try and pay it.
14 something right now is what we're at.
Yeah. We try and pay it like 6 months in advance. Just be done with it.
But we can bid it both ways and then try to get the answers to those questions.
Yep. I'm all for it if we can do it and make sure that we
well,
have
yeah,
the
so
procedures.
I like to see what other municipalities do, separate it, and what do they do for collections?
Because, you don't want to be a savings and loan.
You have to make it balance out because it is a proprietary fund. You can't be making a profit off of it. So, I mean,
Well, you could dedicate somebody's salary. That's part of it. They could turn a part-time position into a full-time position if that paid for it.
I'll never be for taxing people trash bills to pay for help. If it's a matter of dealing with the bills, that part of the help, I'm fine with that. But if we're trying to tax the trash bill to be able to, help pay for another position, I think that's wrong.
I don't have any intention to do that
Help
specifically.
pay for the existing.
No, I know you didn't, but Dan was kind of talking in a way that If you can justify, say it takes us 10 hours extra to process and trash bills, or 20 hours extra, that's fine to pay that. But I don't think you should, be trying to raise taxes without people voting on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if we look at it both ways and see how much money it can save us by doing that, and like you said, it's just a line item added to the software.
Right.
Bang, and there is no extra postage. It's gonna go out on the same bill,
And that's where they're gonna save their money. We spend ridiculous amounts of money on postage.
Oh my gosh.
And, to me, I think that would be their biggest saving, plus the processing. For us, it's not really extra processing, it's just the same, bill, it's just an extra step onto the existing.
They used to do postcards, and then the federal government kind of made it illegal to do postcards. You had to go to a letter. And
Well, and we're looking at ways to cut that down as well. I should say Taylor and his team are. They're looking at different types of stationery, because right now they're doing a special letterhead. It prints on that, then they fold it and put it in an envelope, and then the envelope goes through the machine. So they're looking at stationery that possibly, as soon as it goes through the folding machine, it automatically adheres to cut costs and make it faster and everything else. So
they got those systems. Some of them are the old thermal system.
The old thermal printers.
When Brandon was running the trash service, the guy got killed on a motorcycle. He was in here to a utility meeting just shortly before he got killed. He said, I signed up with a billing company. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, and then this has been a few years ago. He said, their bill for me is 65 cents a bill. He said, I can't, there's no way. He said, no way under the sun that I can beat that price for 65 cents a bill. So it might be something we need to look into, whether we can do a billing, have a billing company do our billing, because and Brandon was sitting there going, you guys are nuts if you don't do it, because he said, there's no way you can compete with that price of 65 cents a bill.
I can't speak for that team in there, but if I were to speak for them, I think they'd be all for that. Because then we could get rid of we have a folding machine, a postage machine. I mean, we have all these machines that we pay to process this. Plus I'll put that bug in their ear.
So we're going to quote the billing both ways. We're going to quote the recycling both ways. If we did do the billing, my question is on Roger, that grant Roger bills, and I think we can get it. I think we'd be if we decide to go with curbside recycling, I think we can get that grant. And if we can start buying containers and give them to individual addresses, and I don't know how we do that, but I don't think we want to own containers.
I don't know how that works if you give.
I was going to call Roger today and say, how do you administrate that? But if we're talking about getting a $15,000-$20,000 grant to buy roll-offs.
Everywhere I've been that's had to roll off, the city was responsible for the trash billing and the water bill. It was just combined together. When you do it that way, you have a little bit of say over.
Well, then you end up owning the container.
Correct. And then the first one was free. I would have, not free, but provided to the customer. And then after that, if they damaged it, lost it, or whatever, they had to purchase another one.
Well, we bought our containers off Brandon when he switched back to Rumpke. Oh, those blue ones he had.
Mm-hmm.
We bought ours.
Didn't Rumpke end up buying that from them anyway?
Yeah, but we bought them from him before he sold it to them.
Well, you probably bought it from him after he was dead.
No, he died after he lost the contract, didn't he?
No, I don't think so.
It was just after.
No.
So, I have another question, and fortunately, probably the vendors would probably be the best to answer it. if we were to go to roll-offs and got rid of, I mean, I haven't, this is the first place I've seen in my adult life where trash cans aren't standardized and everybody has the same kind of can. And most of the time, actually other than Columbus, a truck comes around with an arm that grabs the can and dumps it, so you reduce manpower, which I would assume would reduce cost for us in return, the customer. So I don't know, is that something that's been talked about in the past where we standardize and everybody
Well,
gets their trash?
that's why Nick gave me the contact information, and you get a roll off, and if you can put 3 extra cans out if you have to. You know, like if it won't fit in the roll off. And then you get the recycling can, and with the recycling can, that's a lot of air, you might have to deal with large items, which we already got large items dealt with. I think like they're $5 now. They might bid up, but just that way you can, I mean, that's the cheapest thing I know. I mean, if you set it on the truck and go to the dump, it's gonna be the $40. So,
I guess I'm not sure. I was just thinking if everybody had one of those roll-off cans instead of cans you go to Lowe's and get, the machine on the truck would be able to grab it, throw it in. I would think that would make it cheaper for us. But
The ones that Rumpke has and they've supplied, they're supposed to wheel to the back of the truck and it hooks and flips it.
right, but they have to get up.
they have the trucks that grab those, what do they call them?
Side loaders.
Yeah, they have, I don't know if Rumpke's got them or not. I've seen them at the beach where they drive down the beach and grab them
Absolutely.
and what do they call them? There's a name for those containers. But they're all the same shape. All those containers are, the differences are they're 65 gallon or 95 gallon.
And machine sensors for both of them.
Right.
The truck rather. Because they have a couple different, some have a hook in them that catch the bar on the front.
The price for that was $21 a month, and that included your recycling fees and everything. It's $21 a month. And that was not what Rumpke was charging. That was, they are doing the billing, and the billing is, and that's what the city was charging after paying for the garbage bill. So it's a decision, if we were gonna bid it both ways, it's a decision we can make after we get the bids in.
Okay.
And do we need to put on the bids about the alleys or no?
Oh, about the alleys, about the overload on the
We'll put
alleys.
on the alleys that all trash is gonna be collected from if possible, all trash is gonna be collected from the front of the house.
I know that's what Rumpke wanted, and honestly, from our standpoint, that's what's best as well. It's the folks that are used to putting their trash in the alley won't like
If
it.
we go to roll-offs, there's gonna be some allowances to have to be made. There's some people with the places, people just don't have a place to put a roll-off. Or you gotta drag it up a steep hill and.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're referring to the code, for the code officer side of it, we would just have to revamp that portion of the code, which I think.
But if you have, they're not bad looking, so I mean, it ain't like you're leaving trash bags and old rusty trash cans out, they're.
No, but you probably get them close to the house.
Or just get them off the road. They're like, if you go up Pleasant View and you've got those places that's, straight up, they can't bring those down off that hill. I mean, there's a lot of elderly people that have that issue. And I think that we need to look at that
I think our whole trash can code, if you will, to me, it looks like it was written for a cookie cutter neighborhood like you see being sprouted up everywhere, like Reynoldsburg. And they, all those cookie cutter homes have the privacy fence on the side of the garage. Every single one of them have it. Well, we don't have that. We're not sprouting up new subdivisions here. So I don't know that that the majority of that code is very applicable to our current situation anyway. Some things about the timing make sense to me, but as far as the shielded in area, I'd really like to see that rewritten to better suit our needs here.
I have a question.
Sure.
So when you was talking about the alleys, bringing the cans out of the alleys, there's a lot of alleys that have like, I guess it'd be called student rentals with their houses. And they have like what we have out here for recycling, the real huge dumpsters halfway down the alley, so they can't roll them. What would you do in that situation?
Sorry, I was looking at the question that popped up there at the same time. So,
Can't move the dumpsters, so you're gonna have to go down the alley anyway to get them. So, I mean, that's an issue too.
So those are more for, yeah, like apartments?
There's
They're
some
more like
apartments.
houses, but they got like 8, 10 bedrooms in them. They're old houses, lots of rooms, but the dumpsters, like they're recycled, they're big, like the ones out here.
Yeah.
And it's in the middle of the alley, like behind the house.
Mhm.
Like you couldn't move it.
But should we require that anything less than a triplex has individual trash?
I think that's what one of you guys mentioned right when we
Yeah.
kicked it off. I'm not sure who, but
I think the code might be that way right now.
I think it is for some reason.
I don't see what's just a triplex having I mean, if you have a large apartment building and there's a place that they've got,
Designated for it.
or down, and usually it's fenced in, so people can't get in, you know, I mean, I don't know.
So what do they do for parking?
What was the question, Scott?
the question
It's a
is,
big lot behind the house.
there isn't enough room.
It is
It's
a
more of
big
a
lot.
statement in places to use such vehicles. So I was just asking for an example.
So there's
So
one at the end of Sugarburg Alley.
there's enough room for certain places to
There's
use.
apartments down there, Dan. The what apartments, they have a dumpster in the alley. But there's parking there also.
All right. Thank you,
I
Sam.
guess the utility, Jason and I were just concerned about some of these alleys getting collapsed with heavier trucks going.
Oh,
So for example, between Walnut Street, Poplar Street, Chestnut Street, all those back alleys.
Well, just say unless there's no other possibility, trash will be picked up from the front of the house.
I think that would be very helpful,
Yeah.
from the service provider's aspect, and it would be helpful for the
Well, that's a whole
preservation.
different-
You're always gonna run into some situation we go, yeah, we can't do
Well,
it.
that's a whole different truck anyhow, because those are front loaders. So I guess if it's a commercial dumpster that they're accessing in the back alley, then you have no choice on it.
So we're gonna bid it all as one, residential and commercial, right? That's currently the way it's bid, right?
That's a
All is one, all are commercial and, so we had to split at one time.
see, is there any other? Oh, nothing else out there.
One time it was split where there was a contract for commercial and there was a contract for residential.
You know, I haven't talked to business owners and gotten the pulse from them of what they want. You know, I do know they're locked into Rumpke dumpsters and, you know, for the commercial side of the
That's
house.
why we gotta get the bids out, because if somebody else wins the bid, they need time to change those dumpsters out, you know, so we gotta get this, you know, the bids out and then get it awarded, and then that allows some time for whoever wins the bid to be able to deal with changing the dumpsters out and ordering dumpsters or having dumpsters made or
Well, I guess maybe I don't understand then, is it so it's my understanding now that because Rumpke has the city contract that businesses can only use Rumpke dumpsters.
yeah.
Is there a way to change that to give businesses other options so they can pick different carriers, or does it
The
have to be
reason they didn't
locked
want to, they didn't want eight or 10 carriers in town all at the same time.
down? Okay,
That was the thought about that.
fair enough. I just wasn't aware of the backstory on that.
Now, when Gary Edwards was the city manager, he did a lot of work on the commercial side. One of them, you can actually start picking up at 4 AM, I think, on the commercial side. It ain't 6.
Okay,
Because that was that was causing the carriers a problem, not being able to come and get the dumpsters and then start residential. So that was changed. He made some other changes in the contract, you know, to try to help commercial events. But the only reason for having a franchise is to name one person to haul trash.
one phone call.
Yeah.
If there's an issue.
If we wanted to, we could just go to a license system and say, you gotta come buy a license to haul trash in the city of Nelsonville. And then the residents the residents have always got a lot cheaper trash service by having one carrier. Like, I don't think you can, right now, you can beat our trash service. I mean, compared to other places, you can walk out there and put 20 bags out, and it's $14 or something a month, and it's picked up every week. And, I don't think you can beat that kind of service. And without everybody being on one carrier, I don't think you can get that kind of pricing. And that's the reason for putting a franchise out. If you don't want to put a franchise out, you just come up with a license system. You just come to the city building and prove that you got insurance, you got Packer trucks, and you buy a license.
I think you have to stick with a franchise, so
I'd
not
leave
gonna just have problems.
Because they'll say, well, so-and-so's gonna pick it up on Monday. Well, so-and-so's gonna pick it up on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, I've got this person. Then you call them, I don't have trash service with them. Then that's when you start running into all that.
Yeah.
He said, she said, just keep it simple.
Fair enough. I just didn't understand the backstory. That's all.
Now you know the rest.
Now you know the rest of the
As
story.
Paul Harvey once said.
So is there any other changes? We put the contract out to everybody. Is there any other changes that anybody want to make?
Is there any interest or possibility, and again, I don't know the backstory. I know currently we allow folks to have big items hauled away for whatever that upcharge is, $5, so forth.
Well, that's bid on too.
That's bulk, yeah, just bulk pickup.
I didn't know if that's something that, is the community interested in doing? What I've seen in the past is big trash day. So for example, twice a year, depending on what end of town you might be on, everybody can put out pretty much whatever they want. And
No, because then you get into the problem that Rocky was having. People were actually storing trash to get rid of it at one particular time. So, I mean,
The other
call
thing
for
is,
bulk pickup, they come pick it up.
we had the other thing was that a lot of the landlords, not only in Nelsonville, cleaned out their rentals and brought the stuff to Nelsonville. That's why the last time that Rockies did the trash day, they had a police officer down there checking driver's license that you had a Nelsonville address.
sure. Okay.
But I don't know. I think $5 for a water heater is extremely. I mean, you change your water heater out and you drain the water out of it, set it out to the curb, and for $5. And I don't know how other people do it. I've set things out there. I have a debit card with Rumpke. I set things out there. I don't even know about it. They just charge it out.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, and that's fine. I was just bringing things I've seen other places, and it just depends what they like or don't like. I think what we have, is sufficient. I mean, personally, I've not had any problems with it. And, I know a lot of folks complained about the wrapping of the mattresses to prevent the bed bug spread and so forth. But,
those are $8.90. The wrap with the zipper is $8.99 at Walmart, because I just threw the mattress away. And I went down to Walmart and got, it was a full-size mattress. Went down to Walmart and got paid $8.99 for, it had a zipper on it. You stuck it in and you zipped it up, and then you set it out, and it was tough plastic and it wouldn't break, but that's OSHA regulations for the carrier. They can't help that.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
When I was talking to a different carrier, they were explaining that was a problem, but that's kind of subsided. So I didn't know if it was just something we could ask Rumpke or not.
No, it actually protects the people that are picking it up. I mean,
If one of those drivers happens to pick up a bed bug from having that
it's got a statement.
furniture, I got a cousin that runs a furniture store, and he wouldn't even pick up old furniture
Sure.
in his delivery trucks. He's got no pickup truck that he picks up old furniture on. If one of them bed bugs happens to get on one of your employees, you gotta pay to fumigate his house.
Oh, absolutely.
So, so the carriers don't want any.
Yeah. And for the record, I don't think the police dog we're getting does bed bugs, although it could be cool if it did.
Might have fleas.
No.
Okay.
Only direct.
Well,
So the last one I have then is, one of the complaints I get a lot is, folks don't have anywhere to take their green waste. Sticks, branches after a big storm and
Nick
so.
sat here and said, put it in the garbage bag.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah,
He
Okay.
did say that. That was a question we did ask him.
Fair
He
enough.
was here and he said, put it in the garbage bag, we'll take it.
Okey dokey.
so and if the city actually got a chipper in the future, and this was maybe, they could bring it here and we'd end up giving them mulch and stuff.
Hopefully we don't ever have to do that.
Well, we always clean up trees that are falling.
Absolutely. I was just worried about the manpower side of having somebody there to mulch up everybody's.
Well, no, so yeah, they would drop off here and then we would mulch it out.
Gotcha.
Not give it back to them.
Oh, man. Brought it up. I don't have anything else then.
so I'll get these typed up to you. You get them to Gary Hunter, have him get the bid specs ready, and then we'll go to bid.
Sounds like a plan.
We'll talk about the water loss thing now, or?
Yes, so I passed out a sheet. One of the things that Jason and I have had many discussions about is our water loss situation. Recently, the guys have done an outstanding job at taking care of some leaks that have been leaking for years. And, I don't know of any leaks now that we're aware of or think that they're mine water runoff. So as an example, off Jefferson Street, ME Street, there was another one too that, for the longest time we tested the water for years and it came back as it didn't have the fluoride in it. So they thought it was groundwater. Upon further discovery, we found out that it was leaking. So very long story short, we're losing roughly 40% of our water out of the plant. So it comes out of the plant, we lose 42% of it, and before it gets into people's homes or gets billed for. And I would like to reduce that number significantly. In addition to that, before paving any more roads, I think it's wise to make sure underneath the road is good before we spend that money on asphalt and cover it up. So I've talked or come up with a solution or a possible solution. There's companies out there that will come in, they have special equipment, they go around town and they listen for leaks, they plot them out and they provide that service to us. I got a quote today, and it just depends. They actually have to come down and survey the town before they can give us an accurate, more exact quote. But worst case scenario would be 4 days of 2 technicians, which is $2,600 a day. So public math, it's $10,400 worst case scenario. I saw the one Logan did, and Logan's only cost them $6,000. So I suspect ours will come in less than 10.4, but I didn't want to come in low and ask for more later. The idea behind this is before the end of the year, we get our leaks that they can find all mapped out, and then we can build a strategy and budget for repairs next year and start repairing those, especially before applying any asphalt to the ground and covering it up and then have to cut into our brand new asphalt. So I would like to request that we can hire a company. I have the name of the company if you're interested, and have them come in. And if it does cost more than that, no matter what, we would stop at that amount.
You don't need a contract for that.
I just need
Under
money.
the bid amount, if you need appropriation, just
That's
have
it.
Gary put the appropriation at, there's probably, you might have appropriation already there somewhere, but you don't need a contract for that.
So I would suggest if this committee's okay with it, to pass it on to the
Finance committee.
for appropriation of.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't think any of these guys.
It comes out of the,
Water fund.
it really is, if you need appropriation, just have Gary bring it in. It falls under the bid amount.
Absolutely. I want to make sure I brought it to all the proper committees before,
I
got
think
to
it
them.
should go to finance so we can get Taylor's opinion on it also,
Absolutely. And that's tomorrow night, correct?
right?
Yep.
Perfect. Again, just trying to start leaning forward instead of being reactive. We're still got some reactive stuff, but next year, hopefully we are in the forward momentum phase and going after stuff that, is not visible to us now, but I would really.
Well, when we raised the water rates, we raised them with the intention of doing stuff like that. And we're gaining quite a bit every month in the water fund. So there's definitely money there, and that's why the rates were raised. So, we could find leaks, repair lines and things like that. That was the purpose of raising them. So the money's definitely there. I mean, if you look at the finance report, there's a large gain every month in the water fund.
Yeah.
The purpose for that was to find leaks and repair lines.
So, yeah, I mean, so if we're losing $10,402 a month in water that's not going into people's homes, it's a no-brainer to spend $10,000.
And this is August, so this is something I asked Jeff to do monthly now. This is just one snapshot. I want to start putting together averages and see if we can identify any trends. One of the other things we're going to do is meter the swimming pool. Currently, it's not metered, so in the summertime, that would look like a significant amount of water loss, even though it's really not. It's at the pool. So
Right.
we're trying to tie up those loose ends as well.
Well, to be fair, I think when Carl and I got on council, I think our water loss was like at 55%. So as we keep fixing lines,
It's dropped 13%.
we're knocking it down a little bit, but as we fix lines, we're also looking at putting pressure on
New lines.
new lines and,
New old lines.
50 feet down the street, there goes another break.
Theory constraints, we're gonna find the next,
Yeah.
especially after we fix that street that starts with M.
In the
We don't
second,
say it out loud because it
in the
has.
second sentence here, it goes slow meters after the comma.
Yep.
And we're going to have to deal with slow commercial meters.
So we actually are dealing with it now. We've already, so the old hospital building, they just rebuilt theirs. And Hocking College, I believe, has a plan for theirs now. And then I'm trying to think what other ones there are out there.
Regional.
That's another animal in itself. But we are getting after those.
We're probably gonna have to require testing
I would love to see that in an ordinance, maybe
every 5 years or
whatever it is, to have them calibrated, tested, whatever. I know they're really expensive to replace versus ours, or I'm sorry, residential meters. Those are $150 to have tested, but it's cheaper just to put a new one in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless someone's falsely accusing you of having a fast running meter, then it might be worth $150.
Well, we've actually done that. I've been accused of having fast running meters, and that just doesn't happen. For everybody out there in Facebook land, meters slow down. But if you push the issue hard enough, we will take your meter out and we will send it off to be tested. And then if it comes back and we're wrong, then we pay for it. And if it comes back and we weren't wrong, you pay for it.
You probably need to put that in the water policy.
Let's do that too then, if we don't mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're right. I have been here 22 years. I've never known of a meter running fast. They get full of dirt, whatever, and they run slower or they stop running. And we started to deal with, probably 10 years ago, we started to deal with commercial meters that were running slow. We had them all tested. And there was a lot of gain to be had there, and the project got dropped.
So it is being engaged again. Also, we have a list of residential meters that we know are bad. So what we do is we take all the minimum usage bills and we look at those first. And, a lot of them are using the minimum or less than the minimum amount or maximum amount rather. But a lot of them are just old meters. I think we're down to 3 meters inside houses still that we know of, and we're working on replacing those and getting those changed out. And then there was the, what's the other one he was getting after?
Why don't you ask Gary if there's a way to word it, if your meter hasn't been tested within 5 years, then you have like 6 months to get it tested.
We're talking commercial, correct?
Commercial, yeah. And then there's gotta be a period of time once that it's tested, it's gotta be given to us. And then there's gotta be a period of time where they have to have their meter repaired or replaced. And the other argument that went with that was whether we wanted to own the meters or not.
I think if we have an ordinance that, forces them to do all the criteria you just mentioned, probably best to let them have it, or let them keep it.
I have the numbers somewhere about how much money that was going to generate, and it was substantial. And that was 10 years ago, so the problem's had to get worse since then.
Absolutely. So we're really looking forward to the grant that's already been approved to install all the new meters next year in Bookdale. And then that's the one with the water line on the street that starts with M. If I say it, my water guys are watching, they'll have my head because it breaks all the time, multiple times a week. And then there's 4 other lines in that, if I recall.
Are we buying radio reads for Bookville too?
Absolutely. So when they're done with the grant, there will be very few meters, if any, in Nelsonville and in Bookville that are not radio read. In fact, depending on how the bids come in, we might even be able to get an antenna included in that and not even have to drive the streets where it just transmits directly back into City Hall here.
You see, the advantage of that is if somebody has a leak, instead of running up a big water bill, it'll flag it first thing in the morning, water office, and call the people and say, hey, you got a leak, you need to.
Absolutely.
So they don't end up having a big water bill to argue about it. I mean, that's the advantage of that.
Much better level of service for the customer.
Well, it's better for us too, because we don't have to try to collect a bill where somebody really didn't do nothing wrong, they end up with a big bill to their property. So I like to see that.
That's the goal. That's the end goal. End goal is to have that 100% Nelsonville booked, or whoever we service in the future, to where it all comes direct into the water office. I don't know that we'll be able to fully accomplish it with the bid we have, or with the grant we have for next year, but we'll be really close if we don't get it next year. The next step after that would be antennas. So everything they're putting in will be prepped with it. The one thing we haven't paid for.
There was some meters the guy was telling me about that worked for a water company that actually ping off of one another.
So the guys decided, the current brand we're using is Census, and we had
Been census.
right. If they bounce off one another, I'm not real sure. I'm just aware of if they have to drive down the road with a computer, and then it all pops in there to it.
Well, the guy I talked to was driving down the road, but he said, I drive to the end. This is a rural water system. He said, I drive to the end of one road. He said, and they're pinging all the way down the road. I don't have to drive all the way down the road. I drive to one spot and pick up like 30 houses. And as soon as that laptop, he was showing it to me, as soon as the laptop got to reading it, it checked. He could look down at the laptop and say, well, I didn't get this house. I got to go get this house. It was like, he was reading multiple readers and not spending much time at it.
Ideally, we get to the point where they're all reading back, like you mentioned earlier, into the water office. That way we have real-time data. When they turn on the computer in the morning, if they have 3 alerts for people of a possible leak, we can call them right there. We're the ones that we have to go out and read. It's still going to be once a month. And
even service-wise, if we can't get them on the phone, we can send someone down to beat on the door or try to find the leak or whatever. I mean,
the one thing we have not pursued yet is the radio shuttle or turn-ons and shut-offs. Right now the technology is a little wishy-washy on that, and it's really expensive. We've talked about getting a couple just to play with and see how they work, but we're not ready to go down that rabbit hole yet.
Yeah, that would be very costly.
I think they were about $300 a meter, and that's about what you got on a radio read and a meter, so it's going to double the price of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got some questions if you guys are okay if I answer them. Missy asked who's responsible for picking up roadkill, and that would be us, Missy. You can call in or you can use the text number, text MyGov that pops up on our webpage, and you can send a text. It will generate a work order and we'll take care of that for you. So Preston Miller says if there is 42% water loss, my thought goes to how much inbound water seepage there might be. Not sure if I understand that one, but they are glad we're cleaning up we're addressing the leaks. Let's see. Nelsonville, I have a question. Is this quorum? So,
It is quorum. Yes, the meeting was legally advertised. It was announced at a council meeting. It was legally advertised, and all three members of the utility committee are here.
And it was advertised on Friday, it was announced on Friday.
It was,
Social media.
there was a notice put out in the papers, and everybody that wished to be noticed Friday, and it was announced at the council meeting last Monday night.
Yep,
okay,
and agreed upon.
great.
I don't allow things that aren't legal.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for letting me push that leak detection forward. It'll make things much easier for everybody to plan going into next year.
Yeah, so you have to bring everybody up to speed on this, because before we start paving streets again, we need to start replacing water lines.
Yeah,
Finding out where they're at.
Well, we got those lines on that contract, and we don't want to do any work on.
right. We don't want to mess with those 5, because if I recall, it's 5 Street. It's I'm going to say it. Sorry, boys. Mill Street, Church Street, St. Charles Street, House 691, and there's another one that I'm brain dumping. So those will all get repaired, and then Mill Street will get new sewer as well and be paved, which we're going to do the sewer in-house.
Sewer, right?
Right.
All right.
We're done.
We're done.
I have nothing else.
I'm done.
Adjourn.
Adjourned.
All right. Good night, everyone.